Welcome back to the Untold Scriptures, where we dive into the stories you thought you knew, peeling back the layers to reveal truths that hit deeper than you might expect. Today, we're stepping into a saga that's more than just a love story. It's a tale of deception, rivalry, and a divine promise that shaped a nation. We're talking about Rachel and Leah, two sisters caught in a whirlwind of love and betrayal with one man, Jacob, at the center. This isn't just about romance gone wrong. It's about how God takes broken people and weaves their messes into something eternal. So, grab a seat, maybe something to sip on, and let's walk through the desert sands together, under a starry sky, to uncover the hidden truth of Rachel and Leah. Picture a young man, his sandals worn thin, trudging through the wilderness with nothing but a staff and a heart full of fear. That's Jacob, running from his past, from a brother who wants him dead. He's tricked Esau out of their father's blessing, and now he's fleeing Canaan, heading to Haran, where his mother Rebekah's family lives. The sun is sinking, casting long shadows over the rocky terrain, and Jacob's mind is a tangle of guilt and hope. He's not just escaping danger, he's searching for a future, a place to belong. Night falls, and he stops in a barren spot, with only a stone for a pillow. Can you imagine? Laying your head on a rock, the desert stretching out endlessly, the stars above brighter than you've ever seen. He closes his eyes, exhausted, and that's when everything changes. In his sleep, a dream unfolds, a vision so vivid it shakes him to his core, and names the place Bethel, God's house. It's a vow, a marker of a moment when heaven touched earth. With dawn breaking, Jacob sets out again, his steps lighter, fueled by the promise that God is with him. Haran lies ahead, a land unknown but full of possibility. The journey is grueling, dust clings to his clothes, the sun beats down. His throat burns with thirst. Days pass until he spots a well, surrounded by shepherds and their flocks, waiting to water their animals. The stone covering the well is massive. His breath catches. Her dark hair sways in the breeze, her eyes sparkling under the sunlight. He doesn't know her name yet, but something stirs in his heart, like a song he's heard before but can't place. Who is she? He asks a shepherd, trying to sound casual. Rachel, Laban's daughter, the man replies. Rachel. The name settles in Jacob's mind, and when their eyes meet, the world seems to pause. Without thinking, he strides to the well, grips the massive stone, and rolls it away single-handedly, a feat that leaves the shepherd stunned. He fills the trough, watches Rachel's sheep drink, and then, overcome, he weeps. Is it relief at finding family? The weight of his journey? Or the spark of something deeper? Rachel looks at him, curious, maybe wary. Who is this stranger who's stormed into her life? They head to Laban's house, and Laban greets Jacob like a long-lost son. You're Rebekah's boy, he exclaims. Someone who could be useful. Days turn to weeks, and Jacob throws himself into work at Laban's household. He tends the flocks, organizes the pastures, and proves his worth. Laban, ever the shrewd businessman, sees an opportunity. Your family, Jacob, he says one day, but you shouldn't work for free. Name your wages. Jacob doesn't hesitate. His heart has already decided. I'll work 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter, he says, his voice steady, but his eyes bright with hope. Laban raises an eyebrow. Rachel is his treasure, beautiful and charming. But 7 years of labor is a steep price. He nods, a faint smile playing on his lips. Better you than someone else, he says, sealing the deal. For Jacob, those 7 years pass like a dream. The time is fulfilled, he says. Give me my wife. Laban nods, but there's a flicker in his eyes, something Jacob misses. A great feast is prepared, with wine flowing and torches lighting the night. Jacob takes her hand, his heart pounding, and leads her to the bridal tent. The night is a blur of love and wine, and Jacob believes he's finally with Rachel. Morning comes, and with it, a truth that shatters his world. The woman beside him isn't Rachel, it's Leah, her older sister. Jacob's heart stops. Leah's eyes meet his, filled with fear and resignation. He leaps up, fury rising like a wildfire. "What have you done?" he shouts, storming out to confront Laban. "I worked 7 years for Rachel. Why have you deceived me?" Laban, calm as ever, adjusts his robe and says, "In our land, we don't give the younger daughter before the firstborn." The words hit Jacob like a stone. Betrayed, manipulated, he feels like a pawn in Laban's game. But Laban offers a deal. "Finish the bridal week with Leah, and I'll give you Rachel too, for another 7 years of work." Jacob's mind reels. 7 more years? The thought is crushing. But losing Rachel is worse. He agrees, swallowing his anger like bitter wine. A week later, Rachel becomes his wife, and his love for her burns as brightly as ever. But now, Jacob's caught in a tangled web: 2 wives, one loved, one unwanted, and a father-in-law whose schemes run deeper than he imagined. The camp is a storm of emotions, and the story is just beginning. Her quiet demeanor and gentle eyes overlooked by those captivated by Rachel's charm. She's always known the customs of her people. The eldest daughter marries first. But no suitor came for her. No one saw her as more than Laban's dutiful daughter. When Jacob arrived, with his strength and stories of divine dreams, Leah saw the way he looked at Rachel, a look she'd never received. One of longing and devotion. Her heart ached, not with jealousy at first, but with a quiet hope that she, too, could find a place in this world. That night, when Laban sent her to Jacob's tent, veiled and silent, Leah didn't resist. Did she want to deceive him? No, but she was bound by her father's will, and in her heart, she clung to a fragile hope that Jacob might grow to love her. When morning came and his face twisted with shock, that hope crumbled. "What have you done?" he demanded, and Leah could only lower her eyes, her silence a shield against his fury. She wasn't the villain, but she felt like one. Laban's explanation, that tradition demanded the firstborn marry first, did little to ease the sting. But it's a fragile balance. Jacob's love for Rachel is undeniable. He looks at her the way the sun looks at the earth, warming, constant, life-giving. Rachel moves through the camp with confidence, her laughter bright, her presence magnetic. Leah, on the other hand, is a quiet shadow, tending to her tasks with care, her heart heavy with unspoken pain. He opened her womb, while Rachel remained barren. Leah's first son is born, and she names him Reuben, saying, "The Lord has seen my affliction. Now my husband will love me." Can you feel the hope in those words? She's clinging to the belief that a child might change Jacob's heart. But his gaze doesn't soften. Reuben grows, toddling through the camp. Comes, and Leah's hope persists. Now my husband will be attached to me. But even Levi's birth doesn't shift Jacob's affection. When her fourth son, Judah, is born, something changes in Leah. She doesn't plead for Jacob's love this time. Instead, she says, "This time I will praise the Lord." It's a turning point, a moment where Leah begins to find her worth not in Jacob's eyes, but in God's. Meanwhile, Rachel's world is unraveling. The woman Jacob loves, the one he worked 14 years for, is childless. Every month she hopes, prays, waits, and every month her hope is crushed. She sees Leah's sons running through the camp, their laughter a constant reminder of what she lacks. Rachel's pride, once her armor, begins to crack. She walks with her head high, but inside, she's breaking. Envy creeps in, a bitter fire that burns hotter with each of Leah's pregnancies. She tries to hide it, but the pain is there in her eyes. In the way she avoids Leah's children, in the way she clings to Jacob's love as her only anchor. One night, Rachel can't hold it in anymore. She goes to Jacob, tears streaming down her face, and cries, "Give me children or I shall die." It's a raw, desperate plea, and Jacob, usually gentle with her, snaps, "Am I in the place of God, who has withheld children from you?" His words cut deep, exposing her shame. Rachel feels alone, even with Jacob's love. But she's not one to give up. She remembers Sarah, Abraham's wife. "She will bear children for me." Jacob, seeing the pain in Rachel's eyes, agrees. Bilhah conceives and gives birth to Dan, and Rachel holds the boy close, naming him with triumph. "God has judged me and heard my voice." The camp murmurs, and Leah watches, her heart tightening. Rachel has a son now, even if through a servant. When Bilhah bears another son, Naphtali, Rachel's pride swells. "I have wrestled with my sister and prevailed," she declares. Those words sting Leah, who feels the rivalry reignite. If Rachel can use a servant, so can she. Leah gives her servant Zilpah to Jacob, and soon Zilpah bears Gad, then Asher. Leah names them with joy, proclaiming, "Great fortune has come to me, and women will call me blessed." The camp becomes a battlefield, with children as the trophies in a silent war between sisters. The tension escalates one day when Reuben, Leah's firstborn, brings mandrake roots from the fields, plants believed to aid fertility. Rachel, desperate for anything that might help her conceive, pleads with Leah, "Give me some of your son's mandrakes." Leah's response is cold, laced with years of hurt. "Is it not enough that you've taken my husband? Now you want my son's mandrakes too." Rachel, unwilling to back down, offers a deal. "For I have bought you with my son's mandrakes." Jacob doesn't argue, and soon, Leah conceives again, bearing Issachar, then Zebulun, and even a daughter, Dinah. Feels the strain of a divided household. His love for Rachel is unwavering, but Leah's children are his too, and he can't ignore them. The brothers Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan. But God's promise, made at Bethel, is still at work, weaving their struggles into something greater. Let's keep walking this path, because the story is about to take a turn that changes everything. Rachel's days are a mix of triumph and torment. She's Jacob's beloved, the one he poured 14 years of labor into, but her barrenness is a shadow that follows her everywhere. Leah's children run through the camp, their voices a constant echo of what Rachel lacks. She holds Dan and Naphtali close, the sons Bilhah bore for her, but it's not the same. She wants a child from her own womb, a son to carry her name, to prove she's more than the beautiful wife who can't conceive. Every month she prays, her tears soaking the ground. But the answer doesn't come. Leah, meanwhile, has found a quiet strength. Her sons are her pride, and though Jacob's heart belongs to Rachel, she knows God sees her. Each child feels like a gift, a sign that she's not forgotten. One morning, Rachel wakes with a strange feeling, a flutter in her body she's never known before. Days pass and the signs grow clearer, she's pregnant. The news spreads through the camp like wildfire, and for the first time in years, Rachel feels a spark of hope. Jacob is overjoyed, his eyes shining as he holds her close. "The Lord has heard my cry," Rachel whispers, her voice trembling with gratitude. When the day of childbirth comes, the pain is fierce, but Rachel endures it with a strength she didn't know she had. A son's cry fills the tent. The camp buzzes with celebration, but Leah watches from a distance, her heart a tangle of emotions. She's happy for Rachel in a way, but the old wounds of rivalry still sting. Joseph's birth shifts something in the camp. Rachel walks with a new confidence, her smile brighter, her steps lighter. She's no longer just the beloved wife, she's a mother, a role she's longed for. But even this joy can't erase the tension between the sisters. Leah's sons are strong and numerous, but Rachel's son is Jacob's favorite, and everyone knows it. The balance in the camp feels fragile, like a thread stretched too tight. Jacob, meanwhile, is growing restless. He's worked for Laban for 14 years, 7 for Leah, 7 for Rachel, and he's tired of living under his father-in-law's thumb. Laban's wealth has grown because of Jacob's hard work, but Jacob has little to show for it. One day, he approaches Laban, his voice firm. "I've fulfilled my duty," he says. "Let me take my family and go." Laban's face darkens. He knows Jacob's presence has brought blessings, his flocks have multiplied. His herds are thriving. "Stay," Laban urges, "name your wages." Jacob thinks carefully. He's learned not to trust Laban's promises. "Let me keep the speckled and spotted animals," he says. "The pure white ones stay with you." Laban agrees, seeing an easy win. Most animals are born without blemishes. But Laban, ever cunning, orders his sons to remove the speckled animals from the herd that night, leaving Jacob with nothing. Jacob isn't fooled. He's faced Laban's tricks before. And he's not the naive young man who arrived in Haran years ago. He trusts God's promise and devises a plan. He cuts branches from trees, peels them to create striped patterns, and places them in the watering troughs where the animals drink and mate. Miraculously, the animals begin to bear speckled and spotted offspring, strong, healthy ones that belong to Jacob. Month after month, his flock grows, while Laban's weaker animals dwindle. Laban's sons whisper among themselves, accusing Jacob of stealing their father's wealth. Laban's friendly demeanor turns cold, his eyes filled with envy. Jacob senses the shift, the growing hostility in the camp. He knows it's time to leave. One night, as he sleeps, God speaks to him in a dream. "Rise, Jacob," the voice says. "Return to the land of your fathers, and I will be with you." Jacob wakes, his heart racing. The call is clear, but the path is dangerous. Laban won't let him go easily. And beyond Haran lies another threat, Esau, the brother he betrayed years ago. Jacob gathers his wives, his children, his flocks, and his servants, planning a secret escape. Rachel and Leah. She steals her father's household idols, small statues tied to wealth and status. Why? Is it revenge against Laban? A tighter past? Jacob doesn't know, and Rachel keeps her secret close. They flee under cover of night, moving swiftly through the desert. 3 days later, Laban discovers they're gone. Furious, he gathers his men and chases after them, riding hard for 7 days until he catches up in the mountains of Gilead. "How dare you flee like a thief?" Laban roars. "And why have you stolen my idols?" Jacob, unaware of Rachel's actions, stands his ground. "I fled because I feared you'd stop me. As for your idols, let whoever took them die." Laban searches the tents, but Rachel is clever. She hides the idols under her saddle and sits on them, claiming she can't rise because of her monthly cycle. Laban, bound by tradition, doesn't press further. The confrontation ends with a tense truce. They raise a pile of stones as a covenant, agreeing not to harm each other. "May the Lord watch between us when we are apart," Laban says. The one who swore to kill him is coming with 400 men. Jacob sends messengers with gifts, hoping to appease Esau, but the news they bring back chills his blood. Esau is near. Wrestling with fear and faith, unaware that a greater encounter awaits, one that will change him forever. The mountains of Gilead are quiet now, the dust of Laban's departure settling as Jacob faces a new fear. His caravan moves slowly through the desert, the bleating of sheep mixing with the chatter of his children. Rachel holds Joseph close, her heart full but her mind uneasy. She hasn't told Jacob about the idols she stole, and the secret weighs on her like a stone. Why did she take them? Maybe it was defiance against her father, who used her and Leah as pawns. Or maybe it's a piece of her past she can't let go, a tie to the home she's leaving behind. Leah, meanwhile, watches her sons Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Dinah with a quiet pride. She's borne the brunt of Jacob's indifference, but her children are her strength, a reminder that God has seen her. Jacob's thoughts are consumed by Esau. Years ago, he tricked his brother out of their father's blessing, and Esau's rage was so fierce that Jacob fled for his life. Now, with a family and flocks to protect, the stakes are higher. He sends messengers ahead with gifts, flocks of goats, rams, camels, hoping to soften Esau's heart. When the messengers return, their words hit like a thunderbolt. "Esau is coming to meet you. And he has 400 men. 400 men. Jacob's knees buckle. He has no army, only shepherds and servants. Fear grips him, and he falls to his knees, praying with a desperation he's never felt before. "O God of my father Abraham and Isaac," he pleads, "you told me to return to my land. I'm unworthy of your blessings. But deliver me from Esau's wrath." He divides his caravan into 2 groups, thinking, if Esau attacks one, the other might escape. He sends more gifts ahead, wave after wave of animals. But Jacob's heart is heavy. He's spent his life running from Esau, from Laban, from his own mistakes. Now there's nowhere left to go. That's when it happens. A stranger appears. A figure in the shadows, and without warning, they wrestle. It's not just a physical struggle, it's something deeper, something spiritual. They grapple through the night, Jacob's muscles straining, his breath ragged, but he refuses to let go. As dawn breaks, the stranger touches Jacob's hip, wrenching it out of place, but Jacob clings tighter. "Let me go," the stranger says, but Jacob gasps. "I won't let you go unless you bless me." The stranger asks his name, and when Jacob answers, he says, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel. For you have wrestled with God and with men and have prevailed." Jacob stumbles back, his hip aching, his mind reeling. He's just wrestled with God or an angel and survived. He names the place Peniel, meaning face of God, because he's seen God and lived. The encounter changes him. He's no longer just Jacob, the deceiver. He's Israel, a man marked by divine struggle and blessing. As the sun rises, he sees Esau approaching, 400 men at his back. Jacob bows low, 7 times, humbling himself before the brother he wronged. But Esau doesn't draw a sword. Instead, he runs to Jacob, throws his arms around him, and weeps. "I've missed you," Esau says, his voice thick with emotion. Jacob, stunned, offers his gifts, but Esau shakes his head. "I have enough." And the secrets they carry still lingers. Rachel's theft of the idols remains hidden, but it's a ticking bomb. She hasn't told Jacob, and Leah doesn't know either. The sisters, once fierce rivals, are starting to see each other differently. Rachel's joy in Joseph has softened her edges, and Leah's strength in her children has given her a quiet confidence. As they settle in Canaan, Jacob builds an altar, remembering God's promise at Bethel. He's home, but the journey isn't over. The camp is bustling now, a sign of God's promise unfolding. But the tensions within the family are growing, and the next chapter will test them all. Life in Canaan feels like a fresh start, but the echoes of Haran linger. Jacob's camp is alive, tents filled with the laughter of children, the bleating of flocks, the rhythm of survival. Rachel moves through the days with a new lightness, her son Joseph toddling at her side. He's a bright boy, curious and quick, and Jacob's eyes light up whenever he's near. Rachel cherishes this, each with his own personality. Dinah, her daughter, is a quiet joy, a reminder that God's blessings aren't just in sons. Leah prays daily, thanking God for seeing her, for giving her a place in this story. The camp is a pressure cooker, though. The brothers, sons of Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, and Zilpah, are growing up together. But Jacob's favoritism sows seeds of discord. Joseph, with his bright eyes and quick mind, is the apple of his father's eye and his brother's notice. Reuben, the eldest, feels the weight of responsibility, while Simeon and Levi carry a fiercer edge. Judah, quieter but steady, watches it all, sensing a storm brewing. Rachel and Leah, though no longer openly hostile, navigate their roles carefully. Rachel's confidence as a mother clashes with Leah's quiet strength, and the servants, Bilhah and Zilpah, add their own layers. Their sons caught between the sisters' rivalry. One day, Rachel feels a familiar flutter in her body. Could it be? She prays, hardly daring to hope, and as weeks pass, the signs confirm it, she's pregnant again. The news brings joy to the camp, but also tension. Leah watches, her heart a mix of happiness for her sister and a pang of fear that another child will tip the scales further in Rachel's favor. When the time comes, Rachel's labor is harder than before, the pain fierce and unrelenting. Jacob stays by her side, his face lined with worry. After hours of struggle, a cry pierces the air, a second son. Rachel, weak but radiant, names him Benjamin, meaning son of my right hand. But the birth takes a toll and Rachel's strength fades. Jacob holds her, tears in his eyes, as she whispers, "Take care of our sons." Rachel's death sends a ripple through the camp. Jacob is devastated, his love for her a wound that will never fully heal. He buries her on the road to Bethlehem, marking her grave with a stone that stands as a testament to their love. Joseph and Benjamin become his focus, but the loss leaves a void. Leah steps into a new role. not as a rival, but as the matriarch of a grieving family. She cares for her children and Rachel's, her heart softening toward Joseph and Benjamin. The rivalry that once defined her relationship with Rachel fades, replaced by a resolve to hold the family together. Jacob, still limping from his wrestle with God, feels the weight of his role as Israel. God's promise to make him a great nation is unfolding, but it's messy, fraught with human flaws. The brothers, now 12 strong, are a mix of personalities and loyalties. Joseph, at 17, begins to stand out, not just for his father's favor, but for his dreams. He tells his brothers of visions where their sheaves bow to his, and the sun, moon, and stars pay him homage. The brothers bristle, their resentment growing. "Do you think you'll rule over us?" Simeon snaps. Judah stays silent, but his eyes are wary. Leah, hearing of Joseph's dreams, feels unease. She knows God speaks through dreams. Jacob's ladder proved that, but she also knows her son's tempers. The camp moves on, settling near Shechem, but trouble follows. Dinah, Leah's daughter. "Should our sister be treated like that?" Levi demands. Jacob moves the camp again, returning to Bethel, where he first met God. He builds an altar, recommitting his family to the Lord. It's here that Rachel's secret comes to light. While clearing the camp of foreign idols, Jacob finds Laban's statues in Rachel's belongings. He's stunned, not by the idols, but by the realization that Rachel kept this from him. He buries them under an oak tree, a final break from the past. The family is changing, but tensions are growing. They seize their chance. Here comes the dreamer, Simeon sneers. They plot to kill him, but Reuben intervenes, urging them to throw him into a pit instead. Judah, practical, suggests selling him to passing traders. Joseph is taken to Egypt, and the brothers return with his bloodied robe, telling Jacob he's dead. Jacob's grief is a storm, tearing at the family's bonds. Leah, watching her son's guilt, prays for forgiveness, knowing God's plan is still unfolding. The dust of Canaan settles, but the storms within Jacob's family rage on. Joseph, Rachel's beloved son, is gone, sold into slavery by his brothers, who now carry the weight of their betrayal. Jacob, grieving, clings to Benjamin, his youngest, while Leah steps into the role of matriarch, holding the family together. The 12 sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Joseph, and Benjamin, are the seeds of a nation. But their rivalries threaten to tear them apart. Jacob's grief for Joseph is a heavy cloud, his eyes hollow, his voice quiet. Benjamin, still young, becomes his solace, a living reminder of Rachel. Leah, though never loved as Rachel was, feels the weight of her role more than ever. Her sons, especially Simeon and Levi, carry the guilt of what they did to Joseph, hiding it behind stoic faces. Judah, quieter but burdened, begins to emerge as a leader. He knows what they did was wrong, but he also knows they can't undo it. Life continues, marked by a new reality. The brothers work the fields, tend the flocks, and grow into men, but Joseph's shadow lingers. Leah prays for her sons, asking God to guide them, to forgive them. The camp moves from place to place, following the grazing lands, but Jacob's heart is restless. He builds altars wherever they go, clinging to the promise God made at Bethel, a nation, a legacy, a future. Meanwhile, in Egypt, Joseph's story unfolds in ways no one in Canaan could imagine. Sold to Potiphar, an Egyptian official, he rises from slave to trusted servant. Spurned, she accuses him of assault, and he's thrown into prison. Even there, God's hand is on him. He interprets the dreams of fellow prisoners, a cupbearer and a baker, with startling accuracy. When the cupbearer is restored to Pharaoh's court, Joseph asks him to remember him, but the cupbearer forgets, leaving Joseph in the dungeon's darkness. Back in Canaan, years pass, and famine creeps into the land. The pastures dry up and Jacob's flocks thin. The brothers hear of grain in Egypt, and Jacob sends them to buy food, keeping Benjamin behind, unwilling to risk his last tie to Rachel. In Egypt, The brothers come before a powerful man, the governor of the land, who controls the grain. They don't recognize him, but he knows them. It's Joseph, now risen from prisoner to Pharaoh's right-hand man, thanks to his God-given ability to interpret dreams. Pharaoh had dreamed of 7 fat cows and 7 lean ones, giving him authority over Egypt's resources. Joseph's heart races as he sees his brothers bow before him, their faces older but unmistakable. His dreams from years ago, the sheaves, return to Canaan, but Simeon stays behind as a hostage. Jacob is devastated at the thought of losing another son. "You want to take Benjamin too?" he cries. Joseph is gone. "Simeon is gone. Will you take all I have?" Reuben offers his own sons as a guarantee, but Jacob refuses. The famine worsens and Judah steps forward, promising to protect Benjamin with his life. Reluctantly, Jacob agrees, sending gifts and double the money to appease the Egyptian governor. When the brothers return to Egypt with Benjamin, Joseph's emotions nearly overwhelm him. He reveals himself, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt." The brothers are stunned, terrified, but Joseph embraces them. "Don't be afraid," he says. "God sent me here to preserve life. Go back, bring our father, and come live in Egypt." The reunion in Canaan is a scene of joy and disbelief. Jacob, frail and weathered, can't believe Joseph is alive. "My son is alive," he weeps, his heart revived. The family moves to Egypt, settling in Goshen, where Pharaoh grants them land. Jacob, now old, blesses his sons, giving each a vision of their future. To Judah, he says, "The scepter will not depart from you," a hint of the Messiah's line. Leah, watching her sons receive their father's blessing, feels a quiet pride. Her children, especially Judah, will carry God's promise forward. Joseph, with his wisdom, ensures the family thrives, but he knows his role is part of a larger plan. In Goshen, the family prospers, the land fertile and generous. Leah, though aged, remains a steady presence, her tent a hub of activity. Her sons Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun are patriarchs, their children multiplying. Judah stands out, his strength and wisdom tempered by past mistakes, his sons Perez and Zerah carrying a spark of destiny. Levi's line, marked for priesthood, hints at challenges to come. Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, born of the servants, carve out their places, their tribes vital but smaller. Benjamin, Rachel's youngest, is a favorite, his youth a reminder of the mother they lost. The Israelites are distinct in Egypt, keeping their traditions and faith in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They tell stories of Bethel, of Jacob's wrestle at Peniel, of Rachel's beauty and Leah's steadfastness, of Joseph's rise from slavery to power. But as generations pass, Canaan's memory fades. Egypt is home, and the promised land feels distant. The tribes grow, their numbers a testament to God's blessing, but they're also a concern to the Egyptians. A new pharaoh rises, one who doesn't know Joseph. "These Israelites are too numerous," he says. "They could become a threat." Taxes increase, labor demands grow, and the Israelites, once honored guests, are pressed into building store cities for Pharaoh. The work is brutal, the overseers harsh, but the tribes endure, their faith holding them together. Judah's descendants show resilience, their stories of perseverance passed down. Levi's line, with its priestly calling, begins to take shape, their role as keepers of the covenant emerging. In a small village in Goshen, placing him in a basket among the Nile's reeds when she can hide him no longer. Pharaoh's daughter finds him, names him Moses, and raises him as her own. Unaware she's nurturing the one who will lead God's people to freedom. Moses grows, torn between Egyptian royalty and his Hebrew roots. When he sees an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, his anger flares, and he kills the oppressor, fleeing to Midian. There, a burning bush changes everything. God calls Moses, Moses, and tells him to return to Egypt and lead his people out. Moses hesitates, but God assures him, "I will be with you." Moses confronts Pharaoh with signs and wonders, plagues of blood, frogs, Locusts, darkness, each a testament to God's power. Pharaoh resists. But the final plague, the death of the firstborn, breaks his will. The Israelites leave Egypt, carrying Joseph's bones as he instructed, their exodus a fulfillment of God's word. The Red Sea parts. Pharaoh's army is swallowed, and the Israelites sing of God's deliverance. But the desert tests their faith. They grumble, yet God provides manna from heaven, water from a rock. At Sinai, God gives the law through Moses, establishing a covenant that echoes Jacob's promises. Judah's tribe stands strong, their leadership emerging, while Levi's descendants are set apart as priests. The desert is a crucible, testing the Israelites' faith. Moses leads them, his staff a symbol of God's presence, but the people are restless. They've seen miracles, yet they complain, longing for Egypt's comforts. At Sinai, the mountain trembles, and God speaks, giving the law, the 10 Commandments, the tabernacle's design, a tent where God dwells, echoing Jacob's Bethel. Judah's tribe, led by Leah's fourth son's descendants, begins to stand out, their quiet authority tied to Jacob's promise. The scepter will not depart from you. Levi's tribe, set apart as priests, tends the tabernacle. The other tribes, Simeon, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, and Benjamin, find their places, their identities shaped by their mothers. Joseph's sons. God's anger burns, but Moses intercedes. The calf is destroyed, the guilty punished, but the lesson is clear: faith must triumph over fear. Spies scout Canaan, returning with tales of giants and fortified cities. Fear spreads, and only Joshua, from Ephraim, and Caleb, from Judah, urge trust in God. The people refuse, and God decrees 40 years of wandering. In those years, the tribes grow, their children learning the law. Judah's tribe, under Caleb's influence, becomes a beacon of courage. Levi's priests solidify their role. Challenges persist: Korah's rebellion, Miriam's death, Aaron's passing, but God's presence remains, a cloud by day, a fire by night. As the 40 years end, the river parting and enter Canaan. Jericho falls, its walls crumbling, and Judah's tribe leads the charge, their courage a testament to Caleb's faith. The land is divided, but the Canaanites remain, their idols a temptation. Judah's tribe, settled in the south, holds strong, their destiny as leaders emerging. The Israelites are in Canaan, carving out their places. But the journey from family to nation is fraught. Judah's tribe carries leadership's promise, Levi's the weight of priesthood, and Rachel and Leah's legacy lives in their sons. Joshua leads with faith, conquering cities, but peace is elusive. The Canaanites' idols tempt, and some tribes, Simeon, Dan, struggle, compromising with local customs. Joshua gathers the tribes at Shechem. Choose whom you will serve, he challenges. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. The people vow loyalty, but their hearts are divided. Judah's tribe often leads in battle, their strength echoing Jacob's blessing. Deborah's victory song, after defeating Sisera, echoes through the tribes, but peace is fleeting. Levi's priests struggle to keep the covenant alive, but the tribes grow lax, worshipping on high places. Rachel and Leah's stories fade, replaced by tales of local gods. Judah's tribe holds a spark of destiny, their leaders descended from Perez, tied to Jacob's promise of a scepter. Ephraim and Manasseh, Joseph's tribes, are numerous but proud. In Judah's land, a story emerges. Ruth, a Moabite widow, clings to Naomi, saying, "Your God will be my God." Her loyalty leads to Boaz, a kinsman from Judah's line. Their son, Obed, is David's grandfather. A hint of the promise's breadth. The tribes, flawed but God's people, are shaped by their mother's faith. The cry for a king grows louder, the tribes tired of judges. Samuel, a prophet from Levi's tribe, warns against it, but God relents, choosing Saul from Benjamin's tribe. Saul starts strong but falters, his disobedience costing him God's favor. Samuel anoints David, a shepherd from Judah's line, descendant of Perez and Boaz. David's rise is miraculous, defeating Goliath, earning love, but Saul's jealousy drives him to exile. Yet David spares Saul, showing a heart after God's own. When Saul dies, David is crowned king of Judah, then all Israel. He conquers Jerusalem, brings the ark there, and Levi's priests serve faithfully. David's sin with Bathsheba brings judgment, but his repentance is deep, his psalms a cry of faith. God covenants with him, "Your kingdom will endure forever," echoing Judah's scepter. Solomon inherits the throne, building a temple where the tabernacle stood. His wisdom draws kings, and the promise, a nation blessing the world, seems near. But his heart turns to foreign gods, and the kingdom fractures. Rehoboam rules Judah, Jeroboam the northern tribes called Israel. Judah holds Jerusalem, Levi's priests intact, but the north drifts to idolatry. Prophets like Elijah call them back, but rebellion persists. Judah's line endures through kings like Hezekiah and Josiah, but others, like Manasseh, lead astray. Prophets warn of exile. And Babylon conquers Jerusalem, exiling the people. Yet God's promise holds. Prophets speak of restoration, and Daniel, from Judah, sees a kingdom that never ends. The exiles return under Zerubbabel, rebuilding the temple. Through Persian, Greek, and Roman rule, the hope of a Messiah grows. Judah's line, through David, remains unbroken. Rachel and Leah, once rivals, are mothers of a nation. Leah's Judah, the tribe of kings, Rachel's Joseph and Benjamin, vital to the story. In Bethlehem, a child is born, Jesus, son of David, son of Judah, son of God. His life, death, and resurrection fulfill the promise, a king whose kingdom never ends, a savior for all nations. From a ladder in Bethel to a cross in Jerusalem, God's plan has woven Rachel and Leah's rivalry, pain. Or what scripture you want us to explore next? Check out the recommended videos for more untold scriptures, and may God be with you as we keep diving into His Word together.